I have a question. So Fish Vote was made through a Uniswap grant, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Is it possible to do retroactive, like let's say somebody, I guess this is not that big of a fix, but let's say it was a bigger change required. Would it be possible to pass a Uniswap grant for paying somebody for something that already happened?
There's no precedent for it, but it's totally on the table, actually. So, yeah, I mean, the way that would happen now is you would just submit a proposal to the grants program that said, hey, I would like, in this case, maybe a couple $1,000s worth of uni to make this change. And that would probably go through since it's, a tool that's already been approved by the grants program. There hasn't been a retroactive grant yet, as far as I know, but it's totally within the ethos of Uniswap governance if you just kind of like look at the values of the program. So, yeah, I guess it's yet to be seen.
That would be interesting. I had another question for you as a Uniswap expert. Is there a place where the relationship between Uniswap Labs and Uniswap DAO is spelled out? Is that in a governance proposal or written somewhere on the company's website? Maybe you don't know this. I'm just shooting in the dark.
I actually, no, I don't know the best place to point you to. I mean, I could point you to like the, I think there's maybe a pinned post on the Uniswap governance forums. And I also believe there's different copy on the website that alludes to this, but I don't know the best place. I would be surprised if it wasn't written in like a canonical form somewhere. It's easier to point back to the relationship between Uniswap DAO, Uniswap Governance, and Uniswap Grants Program, because the Grants Program originated out of an on-chain proposal. So you can actually see, here is when the DAO voted to create this separate entity. Here's its mandate. Here's its process. Here's how it's run. Of course, that's different in the case of Labs because Labs preceded Uni token.
Right. That's it. It's immaculate conception of the relationship or something. It must be somewhere because they're using that structure to try to be legit. So they must have that spelled out somewhere. But I wonder if it's public. I'll have to ask somebody right at Uniswap.
Yeah. I'm sure we could find it if we poked around online for 10 minutes or so.
I'm also curious. So you are, I don't follow this stuff, but how many grants go through Uniswap Grants Program? Like what's the throughput?
Yeah. So to date, I believe Wave 6 just went out, and I believe there were, I don't know. I don't remember the exact numbers offhand, but I think there's something like 11 grants in the round. And I believe that puts us to date somewhere around 80 or so grants, lifetime since Uniswap Grants Program started. And the cadence there has picked up. So waves are happening on a slightly more frequent cadence. I'd expect there to be something like 50 or so grants a year. But again, there's not a scarcity to number of grants, right? It's more like as many high quality grants that are within the mission of UGP get proposed will go through. Provided it doesn't exceed the budget of the grants program, which was, of course, set by Uniswap Governance in the first place. So it's hard to predict. I think one other thing I worked on this year was building the visual identity of the brand for Uniswap Grants Program, because I think like it's quite possible that the number of grants accelerates a ton, not because the grants program in particular does anything, but just because more talented builders realize that they can get money to just build some really cool stuff from the grants program. And so one reason for doing that brand work was saying like, well, the Uniswap Grants Program at the time was just like using the Uniswap logo on like a separate Twitter account, and it didn't look all that polished at the time. And I thought it would be really cool for the grants program to have a really awesome visual identity, wherein getting a grant, like applying to the program and becoming a grantee, would feel like something that awesome developers and builders were really proud to get into. And so, yeah, I mean, there's no set limit or throughput right now. It's really just all about how many people have ideas and can build stuff and want to apply. And I should note, it's not just about, they're not just developer grants. There's a number of grants happening for people who are working on community education. There are like newsletters funded by the grants program. So really anything related to Uniswap and also broader Web3 infrastructure is all kind of within the mandate there. I think the grants program has given funding to open source Ethereum clients and other tooling that's not even Uniswap specific.
That's super cool. So when the proposal was written to create the Uniswap grant, I imagine it included what amount of funds should be allocated for it. And did it say anything about, maybe you don't remember this, but did it say anything about how that entity would manage, its own staff? Is it written right in, or is it delegated to some group of people who can choose their own staff? How does it work?
Yeah, I forget the original numbers in the proposal around like budget and stuff. I think it was something like $1 million a year, and they were going to fund it for 1 year to start to see what could be done there and if it felt worth it after a year. In the original proposal, I believe the proposed structure was a committee of 5 committee members who would all work together to like review grants and decide what to fund out of the grants program. And those committee members would also be multi-sig signers on a 4 of 5 multi-sig, I think it is, or was proposed at the time. And then there would be one committee lead who is responsible for basically managing the overhead of running the program. And that person is Ken, and he's still in charge of UGP, does an awesome job, and has really done like more than anyone else to get the program up and running. And it did propose, I believe, an hourly rate in USD in that original proposal that he would be paid. It did not offer a ton of guidance around how the committee members would work, and it did not offer pay for the other committee members who were mostly meant to be in like a lightweight review role. But the program was updated in after that first year for like a V2, in which a couple of signers on the multi-sig were swapped out, and there was a broader hourly rate approved with, of course, an hourly cap on how much people could get paid. But that approved anyone on that committee to work on like working with grantees and supporting their projects, reviewing applications, and doing whatever other work was required to keep the program running.
What's the fastest way to find prior Uniswap proposals? I ended up going to Tally. Where would you go?
I think you can just go to uniswap.org/gov, or for me, I think the native UI. I'm pulling up my computer here.
There's a link on the homepage /governance.
Yeah, exactly.
Governance portal, I guess.
Well, if you go into uniswap.org, it's /pound/vote. It's a little confusing with the pound in the URL. But if you go to uniswap.org, there's the button that says like launch app. And then in the app, in that top menu, there's swap, pool, and vote. So if you click vote, it has the UI for all this stuff. And you can see they have their own proposal creation UI now as well.
So 9 proposals so far, 1 pending. The rest a mix of executed, defeated, and canceled.
Yes, that is correct.
That threshold is doing work.
Yeah. The threshold's doing work, but I think another thing here is I think it can go a long way to seed ideas for proposals and to clarify kind of like what the mandate is for usage of treasury funds. I think there's maybe just like a broader question for uni holders and like the community that's involved in governance to know like what should people submit on-chain proposals for. There's also a bit of like a social cost sometimes as well. And so I think this is something that I'm pretty excited about, is that there's an organization called Other Internet that just got a larger grant from the grants program to conduct a year's worth of governance research and experiments, a combination of researching how decisions get made, running experiments in terms of like writing and publishing ideas for what Uniswap governance could do, et cetera. And I think simply getting more experimentation happening and also clarifying like what the range of activities that Uniswap governance might be doing could really accelerate the amount of things happening there. I mean, you've got a few $1 billion worth of capital in the Uniswap treasury, and most of it's just sitting there and not even earning yield, let alone doing slightly higher leverage activities. And so I think figuring out how to put on-chain treasuries like this to use is a huge unsolved problem within all of crypto. And I think there's a lot of good that could be done if we can figure out how to take huge pools of capital like this and use them in ways that are effective, either for some, an organization like Uniswap or even just like the broader ecosystem. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do with that grant.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I totally agree. That's something people have tossed around a little bit in the Juicebox Discord, ideas about putting the treasury to use or part of the treasury. It is an interesting question, especially if someone like Uni were to do it. Wow.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. Other Internet has recently done 2 smaller grants, one for Uniswap and one for Pool Together, which were simply research reports and ethnography studies on Discord activity. And so they had researchers observing different Discord servers and channels for a few months and just kind of publishing public research on what the patterns are that they observe in these kind of crypto community Discords, and some takeaways and recommendations for communities that want to have more effective off-chain governance processes happening in these social channels. So if you haven't seen those, they're both out there somewhere, probably on the Other Internet website, and you can kind of read some of the research that's been done there before.